This topic makes its rounds all the time, and I'm sure we're all tired of hearing about it. I know I'm tired of hearing about it, and I'm sure only a handful of you care to hear my opinion, but I care about my opinion, which is why I'm making a video about my opinion. And then if you guys, get something out of this, that's great too. If not, I just wanted to talk about it because there's a lot to say about it that I don't see people mention, and it's just too much to type for Twitter. So I was like, let me just make a video. Also, I try to be as aware as I possibly can, and I'm always learning, and I try to be open-minded. So if I misspeak or offend anybody, please let me know so I can be more educated. That's one thing I love about discussions is you learn so much about somebody else's experience on things, and it can change your mindset. And if anybody has a different opinion than me, I like hearing their point of view so that I can understand better where they're coming from or think of things in a different way that I would have never thought to. Difficulty settings and accessibility. These two things people like to treat as if they mean the same thing, and they don't. They can tie into each other, but not in the way I see people arguing about it. Games having accessibility is so important because there's people with disabilities like hearing, vision, epilepsy, paralysis, many other things. There should be settings that give you options to turn off flashes, motion blur, camera shakes, particle effects, and plenty of controller customization because sometimes those things really keep people from progressing in a game. Difficulty, on the other hand, this is subjective. For me, Bloodborne was pretty normal, nothing too crazy. Yeah, there were a few bosses that gave me a bit of a challenge, but overall, I wouldn't classify it as a hard game. Castlevania, on the other hand, I'm not even sure if I'll be able to beat the first game. I have spent so many hours on it, and I just feel like I can never beat it. I always get to the last level, and it's such a challenge for me, and I know that if I just keep trying and trying, eventually I'll get there, but it really feels impossible. I have so many friends, though, that think Castlevania is so easy, and they just breeze right through them. Final Fantasy, those games to me were always challenging. I always got stuck on a boss for like a day or two, and for me, that's difficult. But then I talked to all these people, especially on Twitter, and they're like, no, Final Fantasy has never been hard. When I played Xenogears for the very first time, everybody was like, oh my god, that game is so hard. Just be prepared for that. That game was a breeze. There were a couple battles where I had to think a little bit more, but it was not the challenge that people made it out to be. Chrono Cross was so freaking hard for me at the beginning. I really thought I was going to have to drop that game, and then I learned the battle mechanics, and that game became so easy for me, and I love it now. One of my favorite combat systems to this day. If there's a boss that's really tough and it's giving you a hard time, and you're not using the battle mechanics that are laid out for you, and that's the reason you can't progress, that's not an accessibility issue. That is you choosing not to use what the game has given you to progress and learn and get further. When you practice enough or learn something enough, you can become really good at it. If you put in enough time, it can become really easy. And I get it, we don't have a lot of time, especially when you get older. You don't have time to play these games. That's the beauty of gaming. You have so many options. There's something for everybody. There's several genres. We have an expansive library of games that we didn't have forever ago, and it's great because I know that if I want to play something for any type of mood I'm in, there's going to be an option for me. But again, difficulty is about learning the mechanics and the way the game works. If there's a lot of flashes in a game and you're somebody with epilepsy, staring at the lights flashing is not gonna make you used to it. It's not gonna help you progress through the game just staring at that. That is an accessibility issue. That is something that needs an option to be turned off. There's just so many games to play that if you don't want to learn the battle mechanics or something in the game to progress through it, then there's so many other things that you can play. And if you want to keep playing a game for the characters or the story, I get it. It does suck whenever you just want to see their story finish up and see what happens to them, especially if you love them. But that's another great thing about having YouTube or streams. You can just pull one up and watch the whole movie. You can experience it with somebody else too. You can watch someone play it if you're not able to get past a part that you're stuck at. I do believe that story and characters are a huge part of a game. Heck, half the time, it doesn't matter if the game is fun to play. If I don't vibe with the characters or if I don't like the story, then it's hard for me to keep playing it. But the gameplay mechanics, those are what makes a game a game. That's their core. It's gameplay, puzzles, battles, crafting, exploration, mini games. That's all gameplay. That's part of what makes games fun. Puzzles. I love puzzles. I know so many people that hate puzzles. They get stuck in them all the time. As soon as a game has a puzzle in it, they're like, you know what? I'm not a fan of puzzles. I'm dropping this game. Me? I love puzzles so much that if a game does not have them, then it makes me not really want to play the game as much. Because as much as I love a story and battles, I feel like puzzles are a nice break from both of those, and it makes my brain work in a totally different way than anything else. And I feel such a rush whenever I complete one. If games didn't have puzzles in them, I would be so devastated. I know that sounds extreme, but like that is a huge thing for me. And I feel like that's where people seem extreme whenever they say, hey, if you give us difficulty options in a game, then it makes me not want to play it, or that's not part of the game. I mean, it makes sense to me. Like I said, there's games for everybody. There's a type of game for everybody. If you are into visual novels and they added battles in it, that would not be a visual novel. If you were playing Animal Crossing and they added battles to that wouldn't be Animal Crossing anymore. That would take away what makes those games. And I feel like for Souls players, they play those games for the battle mechanics. I know that there's a lot of heavy lore and characters in Souls games, but for me, when I play them, I don't play it for that. I play it for the battle mechanics. I play it because I just want to sit there and not really focus on much. I just want to fight stuff. I don't want to focus too heavy on a story or characters or puzzles or anything. I'm just like, I just want to swing my sword and feel good about that. So if you are playing a Souls game and you want it to be easier, I feel like you're not playing the game for what it was made for. And like I said, it's like if you had a game that you really enjoyed and then they totally changed the whole aspect of it. There's so many games out there. Why do you want to keep playing a game that you're obviously not into? I know people with disabilities that are paralyzed and they use their mouth to play the game because they can't use their hands. They use their feet because they can't use their hands. They use one hand because that's all they have, and they're able to beat Souls games. So I don't think it's an accessibility issue. I don't think difficulty is an accessibility issue. And just for the record, I'm not that type of person that's like, oh, you just need to get good and these games are not for you because I'm an elitist and I really like my hard games. I play games on easy, normal, the most extreme difficulty. It's just whatever I'm feeling. If I just want to breeze through the game and the story, I'm gonna pick easy. If I want a challenge, I'm gonna pick Nightmare. I I don't really care. Honestly, it's just if I have an option, I'm gonna use it, but I also don't have to have an option. I grew up playing NES and Super NES games, and we weren't given an option. It was just like, here you go, here's the game. And I never thought about it before until people started talking about it. Like, I suck at Street Fighter. I suck at fighting games so bad. But I would never ask them to put difficulty options in it because I have FOMO. I'm just gonna either practice and learn the game, or I'm gonna play something else that I'm either good at or I'm enjoying. If we want to get real for a minute though, I do think Souls games do have an easy mode, and I think that easy mode is calling a friend to come help you with a boss. And it's okay to use that, but if you're stuck on something, that's what that is there for, to call a friend. And even if you don't have friends, you can just be like, hey, somebody help me, and there's gonna be somebody online that probably wants to help. To me, that is easy mode for Souls games. I don't know, I just really hate that people treat difficulty like an accessibility issue because they talk about it so much. Like it's an accessibility issue, and I feel like it takes away from the discussion of actual accessibility issues in games. I know game companies try to cater to people so much because they want people to buy their games, but there's so many devs out there that have a vision in mind, and they're like, I really want this game to be made in this way. I have a vision, and here it is. And I think that as consumers, we need to accept that a little bit more. Like, if it's not something for you, there's just so many things out there that you can play and put your money where your mouth is. And I would personally, I have a dream one day to make a game exactly how I would want it, something that would be perfect for me. And I know that everybody's not gonna like it. And I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people complaining about certain things in it, or saying the story's bad, or they don't like the characters, but it would be something that would make me happy, that I made, that was for me, that if I saw people enjoying it, it would bring me so much joy. And I feel like we need to remember that with devs too, because honestly, it probably sucks putting everything that your creative mind out there and creating something and seeing people complain about it not being for them when it wasn't made for them. All I'm saying is there's such beauty and art in video games, and there's so many genres. There's something for everybody. And I know I've said that a million times, but just buy what you want to buy, play what you want to play, and don't let FOMO get in the way of that. Anyway, I hope nobody gets too upset or mad, or I'm sure you will. It's the internet. But again, it's my opinion, and I just feel like this part of the discussion doesn't get brought up a lot, and I feel very passionate about it, so I just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, bye.